So the next question is, what are some homeschooling tips? And I know you have many, bro. Would you offer parents? I'm ready for this.
Okay. Yes, I want to address Sheffield's question first. He said, do you need any sort of education or certificate to homeschool your kids? Now, I don't know the laws of every single state, but every state I've lived in, I haven't had any kind of education or certificate to homeschool my children. Some, would you call them blue states, liberal states, may have some issues with that. I don't know. But I'll tell you this, I'm so serious about homeschooling my children. If the state I'm living in like forbid me or made it difficult or almost impossible to do it, I would move. That's how serious I'm about it. And before I would move to different states, one of the ways I knew it was God's will, as I would look into their homeschooling laws. The one we've homeschooled in Kentucky, Georgia, and now Texas, all favorable homeschooling laws when we're living there. And so my first tip is look into the laws of your state you're living in. See what they require of you. Some require you to report attendance. Which children are attending your homeschool. Some require you to keep records. Some require you to keep grades. Some require you to do testing every so often. Some require you to do, certain subjects to make sure they're getting a well-rounded education. Some are completely hands-off and do nothing at all. Like your children are basically ghosts to them, like they don't exist. That's probably the best of all worlds. And I think like Missouri has it like that. Texas, for the most part, has it like that. Now, Texas doesn't require you to do anything as far as like reporting back to them or telling them what your enrollment is, but they do ask that you teach them the four major subjects and to be a good citizen. So that's also I'm teaching my children anyway, right? And so I would say here's some tips. Number one, don't make it more difficult than it is. Okay, that's the first about it. If you feel overwhelmed, talk to someone who's already doing it or has been doing it for a long time. There's people out there, man. There's a lot of people. There's even homeschool conferences that you can go to. There's people out there. There's a guy named Israel Wayne who does a lot of teaching on this topic. He's been teaching on this for like 20 to 30 years, I believe. And so I think he even has books on it. That's a good. He's a pretty solid brother. Has pretty good theology too. So I give him as a resource to people out there. But homeschooling is not as difficult as you think it is. And I would just when it comes to children, and you're in a classroom in a public school or private school, it's typically like 25 to 30 students per teacher. What kind of dedicated care are they going to get in the situation? Every single one of my children are different. They have similarity, but they're different in the way they learn. And so you're going to need patience, right? You're going to need patience, and you're going to adapt the way you teach them and the way you help them learn per person, to each person. Some will have strengths in math. Some will have strengths in English. Some will have strengths in science. They'll have different interests, and you need to simply adapt. I mean, you're their parent. Not only should you be a pastor or a shepherd of them, as I am of my children, as their father, but even the mothers need to know their children. Just know them well and know how to teach them and how to help them learn. And as you go along through life, you're getting through elementary school. Elementary school is real. I mean, who can't teach their kid first through sixth grade? It's basic stuff. This is easy stuff that you can help them with. And you find a good curriculum and you let them go through workbooks. Sometimes it's even online if you have the money to pay for it. We just use workbooks that we buy from a ministry called Christian Light Publications. It's a Mennonite one, so they have really good stuff in their books. And we use that for the basics. And then as far as like other things, we choose things specifically. My children, they all have to read Eusebius's book. Eusebius was around in the 300s AD. He was part of the Council of Nicaea. He wrote a book called Church History. I make all my children read that. And we also have other history books too that they read. When it comes to science, what do science books have in them? It's just full of evolution junk, millions of years. So we handpick stuff for our children to learn, and we supplement them with videos. And of course, we teach them ourselves. We let them go on to evangelize with us, and they learn how to defend the faith in that way. And so it's really good, like to personalize their education to them. And then, of course, when it comes to like elective things, I've had children who like to play instruments. children who want to learn how to fix things. I have my children do chores. Some take care of chickens. Some learn how to process chickens, when they're ready to be eaten for meat. These are all things they're doing, and this is stuff they can use, like really use, when they get out. But as I was saying, as you go through it, you get to middle school, high school, you're beginning to learn maybe what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and maybe even what they want to do occupationally with their life. And that's when you have to begin to decide how serious you're going to take the high school education and whether they're going to be educated beyond that or not. There's actually, contrary to popular opinion, there's actually very few occupations, comparatively speaking, that require advanced education beyond high school. A lot of things can be learned on the job. There's trade schools. And in my opinion, like for my sons, for example, I would never push them towards college. I would push them towards a trade school, learning a trade, understanding how to do work in that way. And they'll end up being very proficient in an occupation they could have their whole life, anywhere they go, whether it's like mechanic, HVAC, plumber, electrician, carpenter, welder. These are all things they can learn how to do, and that's what I was trying to push my sons toward. And my daughters, of course, I believe all of them are going to be mothers and wives, so I don't really push them occupationally in any direction unless they're going to try to develop some kind of side business they can do when they're a mother, when they're a wife. And of course, before they meet someone, before they get married, they can work a job if they want to, under certain circumstances, but also trying to protect them from evil influences. And then also, one thing I'll say besides the homeschooling thing is when it comes occupationally, I never recommend, I've had, my two older sons went through this, I never recommend sending your young children, whether it's 14, 15, 16, whatever, 17, to work at like fast food restaurants where it's just like public school. You're basically around the same people who are at the public school, people who are wicked sinners, and they're going to influence them. And so resist that. Find other ways for them to make money. Help them start a business. Pray through with them. Give advice. Give counsel on what you think they should do with their life. And the whole purpose of schooling is to prepare them for the future. It's not just to fill their minds with useless information, like Chris was saying earlier, that they just forget. Right? So you want them, their information you're giving to be important, to be useful for their future.